For nearly 30 years, Godzilla 1998 has been the black sheep of the Godzilla franchise. Fans hated it, critics mocked it. Toho literally renamed the monster Zilla and had the real Godzilla destroy him in under 10 seconds in the 2004 feature Godzilla Final Wars. But here's the thing. What if I told you there was actually a Godzilla story that took this version seriously? A story that looked at the giant mutated iguana everyone loves to dunk on and said, no, actually, this guy has value. And surprisingly, it might be one of the best uses of the character ever. In 1954, the king of the monsters first emerged from the ocean in Gojira, a film that was equal parts monster movie and nuclear allegory. The film was so successful that it was recut for American audiences in 1956 as Godzilla, King of the Monsters. From there, Godzilla became a global icon. And with every global icon, Hollywood always wanted its own version. And after years of development hell, TriStar Pictures finally released Godzilla in 1998. And the audiences immediately noticed something was off. This wasn't the Godzilla they knew. Gone was the unstoppable force of nature. Gone was the living symbol of nuclear devastation. Gone was the slow, powerful monster that leveled cities simply by walking through them. Instead, we got a giant mutated iguana that sprinted through New York, hid from the military, and spent half the movie running away from things. Now, to be fair, I don't hate Godzilla 1998. In fact, I kinda love it. Not necessarily as a Godzilla movie, but as a gloriously cheesy late 90s monster film. The dialogue is weird, the jokes don't land, which somehow makes them even funnier.
That's a lot of fish.
And let's not forget that this movie directly led to Godzilla, the animated series, which was one of my favorite cartoons growing up. And because of the nostalgia, I'm always curious whenever Zilla shows up in another Godzilla story. Which brings us to Godzilla, Rulers of Earth. Published by IDW from 2013 to 2015 and created by Chris Mowry, Matt Frank, and Jeff Zornow, this 25-issue series is basically what happens when someone watches Godzilla Final Wars and says, you know what this needs? More monsters. A lot more monsters. Final Wars featured roughly 15 kaiju. Rulers of the Earth practically doubles that number. The story throws giant monsters, alien invasions, secret civilizations, and planet-sized chaos at the reader with absolutely no concern for moderation. And honestly, that's exactly why it works. At its core, the series explores ideas like coexistence versus domination, humanity's technological arrogance, and the idea that kaiju aren't just monsters, they're part of a living ecosystem. It's big, it's ridiculous, it's epic, and it's everything a giant monster comic should be. But let's get back to Zilla, because this comic does something I never expected. It treats him with respect. Instead of making him the punchline, Rulers of Earth leans into what makes him unique. He's faster than most kaiju, more agile, more adaptable, he's clever, he's a survivor. And rather than pretending he's as physically powerful as Godzilla, the comic acknowledges his limitations and turns them into strengths. When stronger monsters are throwing each other through mountains, Zilla survives by using speed, terrain, and instinct. For the first time, it feels like someone actually sat down and asked, how would this creature realistically survive in a world full of monsters that can shoot lasers and level continents? And the answer is surprisingly compelling. Over the course of the story, Zilla evolves from being just another kaiju into a genuinely useful ally in Earth's struggle against the invading alien forces. And it all begins in the very first story arc when Zilla suddenly appears in Honolulu. Then Godzilla shows up and the two get into a scrap. Now, on paper, this should be a complete massacre. Godzilla is larger, stronger, more durable, and armed with his atomic breath. Zilla has none of those advantages. But what follows is one of the coolest Zilla fights I have ever seen. Instead of trying to match Godzilla's raw power, Zilla fights smart. He uses his speed to stay mobile, he attacks from unexpected angles, he behaves like a predator facing a larger rival, and at one point, he even digs beneath the battlefield using underground tunnels to launch surprise attacks. And then, something happens that genuinely shocked me. He actually makes Godzilla bleed. Think about that. For decades, fans have treated Zilla like a joke, yet here he is drawing blood from the king of the monsters. Now, eventually the fight does turn against him, of course. Godzilla begins overpowering him through sheer strength. But even then, Zilla refuses to go down easily. As military forces launch missiles into the battle, Zilla uses the chaos to his advantage. Incoming attacks briefly stun Godzilla, creating an opening, and instead of sticking around for a losing fight, Zilla does the smart thing. He escapes. He survives. And honestly, that's perfectly in character. The comic understands that Zilla isn't supposed to be the strongest monster in the room. He's the survivor. That is what impressed me the most about Rulers of the Earth. The writers don't try to pretend Zilla is secretly stronger than Godzilla. They don't rewrite his entire identity. Instead, they look at the traits that made him different and turn those into strengths. He's fast, he's adaptable, he's cunning, he's vicious when cornered. He's a monster that survives through intelligence rather than overwhelming power. For arguably the first time in the franchise history, those qualities are treated as assets rather than flaws. And then the comic doubles down even further on the idea during its massive final conflict. As the alien forces unleash armies of trilopod hybrids across Earth, every available kaiju is forced into the fight, including Zilla. But by this point, he's no longer just a random monster wandering around the edges of the story. He's become a legitimate participant in Earth's defense. One of my favorite moments occurs when Zilla arrives in Los Angeles and helps save Jet Jaguar from a Godzilla trilopod hybrid. It's a brief scene, but it's important. Zilla isn't being rescued, he's the one doing the rescuing. He's contributing. He's making a difference. And as the battle escalates, Zilla joins the rest of Earth's monsters against the invading horde. He successfully takes down a Titanosaurus hybrid trilopod, then later helps eliminate a Godzilla hybrid trilopod as well. These aren't throwaway victories. The comic repeatedly shows Zilla accomplishing meaningful objectives against dangerous opponents. He's not comic relief, he's not a punchline, he contributes. He matters. And honestly, that's all fans of this version ever wanted. So will Godzilla 1998 ever be considered a great Godzilla movie? Probably not. That debate was settled a long time ago. But Rulers of the Earth proves that even the most controversial version of a character can have a place when handled by creators who understand what makes them unique. Instead of pretending Zilla was something he wasn't, the comic embraced his strengths and found a role for him within the larger Godzilla universe. And after decades of jokes, memes, and getting vaporized in Final Wars, it was actually kind of nice to see somebody finally put some respect on Godzilla 1998. And if you've read Rulers of the Earth, let me know what you thought in the comment section. And tell me, do you think Zilla deserves a second chance, or should he stay in Godzilla exile forever? And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with some friends, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell for more comic book content. And if you're wondering what to watch next, consider one of these two videos. Alright, take care, have a great day, and as always, stay geeky.